Maurice and I, neither one of us fought for about 6 months. We had to heal up.
We do have a good fight coming up for you here. There's a look at the challenger. Kunimasa Nagae, fighting in Tokyo. He is from Tokyo, 5'8", 141 pounds. He is fighting the world champion, Benny the Jet Urquidez, 5'6", 145. But let's talk about Nagae, and again, back in Japan, and how the folks in Japan really latch on to their local fighters.
Well, look at this. You got 15,000 live fans in the arena. Kunimasa Nagae is a former world champion, and here he is ready to take on the current champion, Benny the Jet Urquidez, coming from the United States. Nagae has the Japanese honor at stake. He must regain the world championship. The pressure is on him. There's the champion, Benny the Jet.
He is from Tarzana, California, has made the trek to Japan before. He knows what this is all about, but as you mentioned, Nagae, a former world champion, he's been in big fights before, and I would not think, or I would think that the atmosphere and all the tension and pressure surrounding the championship fight would not bother someone who's been down that path already.
Nagae is a true warrior. He's faced every kind of adversity you can think of in the ring, from knockdowns to cuts, and he's always been able to get up and do well with himself. And he's only suffered one defeat in his entire career. He's had over 35 championship fights, and here is the world champion, probably the legend of kickboxing, Benny the Jet Urquidez. Benny's the first American ever to go to Japan and defeat the Japanese again in their own backyard with their own rules.
And you hear the music, the eye of the tiger. He is certainly a tiger in the ring. You know a lot about his fighting style.
Benny's 5'6", 145 pounds, very powerfully built, one of the strongest welterweights in the world. He is equally adept at kicking and punching skills. His defense is incredible. The guy seldom gets hit. He understands the Japanese style of fighting. He can fight well with the leg kicks. He can defend it well. He has hands like Sugar Ray Leonard. He's got kicks like Bruce Lee. And I'm glad he's my friend.
You know, you bring up the fact that he's hard to hit. That in itself is an art in kickboxing. Not so much the offense, because that is the more spectacular side of the sport that we see. But it is also something to make your opponent miss.
The martial artist, his game plan is to hit and not get hit. Unlike boxing, where many times you see guys that are just out there slugging it out, we don't ever want to find out who's got the hardest head.
They might take a punch to get a punch, or they'll trade back and forth a little bit.
That's right. In kickboxing, you have twice as many weapons when you add the kicks, so it adds a lot more strategy. And the faster and more intelligent fighter many times wins out over the stronger slugger-type fighter. Now, both of these gentlemen are technicians, though, and it should be a thinking man's fight.
Because of that, would you see less of a physical fight? I mean, we saw previously in the very first round, both fighters coming right out, getting after it right away. There was no feeling out process, no warming trend there at all. They didn't want to get to know each other. They wanted to see somebody go down. In a fight like this, would that change, though, because they are clinicians of sort?
As we hear him introduce Benny the Jet Urquidez to the audience here in Japan, Benny is a notorious slow starter because he is such a thinking fighter. He will take normally the first couple of rounds just to find out the strengths and the weaknesses of his opponent. The guy, I would think, is feeling the pressure of trying to regain his championship. He's in front of the crowd as he's being introduced now, and I think he will be the aggressor early in the fight. I think you'll see some contact early.
There you had a look at Kunimasa Nagae, again, the former world champion, taking on the guy who right now owns the crown. It's a 10-round scheduled fight for the World Welterweight Championship.
Both fighters being called to the center ring, I guess, for final instructions. Not that Benny would understand anything he's being told. I don't think he speaks very much Japanese.
Just nod your head politely, bow, get back to the ring, and wait for the opening bell, which we just heard. Oh, and there you see already, the Jet extends the glove, an obligatory good luck to you, and Nagae said, no thanks. I think I understood that in any language.
In any language, that's right.
Already the stark contrast between this fight and the first. The fighters right now measuring each other. And Dale, this is probably just as important as someone who decides to slug it out and go toe-to-toe, because you have to measure your opponent a bit.
I see Benny has come out in the first round out of the southpaw stance, more of a defensive posture. He's looking to see what Nagae has and what his game plan is. And he's throwing a few fakes, and he just took a left hand to the face, so now he knows Nagae's got a left hand.
You say he came out in the southpaw stance, and he'll switch back and forth, I would think, left to right, right to left. Why is that?
Well, kickboxers, when they throw a back leg kick, they land in the opposite stance. So as you kick, many times you change your stance, so you must be adept at fighting both left leg back and right leg back, where most professional boxers fight in one style only. There's the first clinch of the fight. Again, both fighters are starting off slow. Now, that's Benny's trademark, is to start slow and then heat up as the fight goes on. He just caught Nagae with a left hand on the temple. I think things are going to warm up here, and Nagae's trying to get loose. He looks a little bit tight, Johnny.
Now, a lot on the line for him. You brought up in your opening remarks about the Japanese honor. So much to be said for the lifestyle and the way they approach not only their sport, but just their standard of living and the way they approach life in general. There's so much to be said for that pride. And that is certainly at stake here as, Nagae takes another left from Benny the Jet.
Benny's showing, I think, at this point that he's the superior boxer. Nagae's strength is in the low kicks, and he's really not using them at this point, and I think it has to do with Benny coming out in the southpaw stance.
Is that unexpected?
It might have caught Nagae off by surprise. You may have expected Benny to come out with in the orthodox stance, more of a boxing stance, and Benny's come out, I guess, trying to take the leg kick or the low kick strength away from his Japanese challenger.
The first round ends, and perhaps a slight edge to Urquidez, but I didn't see anybody gaining any substantial advantage in those initial exchanges. Urquidez chooses to sit down in his corner. The guy elects to stand up. I think I want to take some rest. This is a scheduled 10-round fight, and they may be in there for a while.
Well, neither one of those fighters expended a whole lot of energy that first round. I would think Nagae, being the challenger, he's going to have to turn the heat up here in round two.
Is it a matter of you really do have to, I guess, without doubt, beat the champion? You can't just expect a close decision to go your way, but he is fighting in Tokyo. Does that help in that regard?
This fight it goes the distance and is close. I would think that it's going to be a toss-up as to who gets it. The judges are fair, but the crowd will be pulling for their hometown hero, and that can influence the judge. You know, when you see a kick land and you hear the roar of the crowd, it makes an impression on you. Benny, though, is the champion, and you do got to beat him to take away his title. So I don't know. When Benny gets going, the action's going to pick up, and we may not have to worry about no judges. There's a front kick followed by the jab by Urquidez to back his opponent up on the ropes. The guy he seems very comfortable in there, not being the aggressor.
We are in the second round in Tokyo, Japan. Benny the Jet Urquidez, the world champion, on the left of your screen. But I'm also Nagae, the challenger, with his back to you. 1 minute remaining in the second round.
Again, Benny forcing his opponent on the ropes, and the guy, you know, doesn't seem too concerned about fighting against the ropes. But I'll tell you, when Benny turns up the heat, the guy stays against the ropes, he will not survive. Now he's trying to open up a little bit, fight more in the middle of the ring and use his kicks. Benny pressed him to the corner again, and if he stays there, John, he's going to get hurt.
It is so quiet in the auditorium that you would know this fight was in Nagae's hometown. And perhaps the Jet has taken away that edge that Nagae would have, and that he has kept him at arm's distance and has successfully so far taken the wind out of the sails of the emotionalism of the crowd.
Well, Nagae just landed a right hand to the body, and to be honest with you, that's the first, and the combination that follows, first thing the Japanese fans have had to yell about. That's why they're so quiet.
And he tagged him with another right in the closing seconds here of the second round.
I think Nagae might have stole that round with the flurry there at the end, so the way I look at it, you got one round apiece, but that's the kind of pressure Nagae is going to have to continue to put on if he has any chance to win this fight.
Now, there was a boxer by the name of Muhammad Ali, I think, that used to employ that tactic. Late in the round, he'd put on a flurry, impress the judges. Do you see that in kickboxing as well? When you get under a minute, do the fighters tend maybe to pick up the pace a little bit and hope to sneak one away?
Any smart fighter is going to try to make a lasting impression in the last 10 or 15 seconds of the judges.
ただベニーはですね、このラウンドを重ねるごとにその調子を出してくるわけですね。早い回っていうのは、スロースターターっていう。
Long way to go. You see the seconds working in the corner. That's Benny the Jet Urquidez, Tarzana, California, his hometown, 5'6", 145 pounds, and he's fighting against Kunimasa and Nagae.
Benny kind of had a look on his face there between rounds like, hey, when's the fight going to start?
It may be here, the third round. You can hear underneath our audio, the audio of our counterparts from Japanese television also calling the play-by-play action for their countrymen in Japan. Kickboxing, of course, very popular overseas in the Far East. Of course, it enjoys a popularity that has yet to really hit the United States, but is beginning to take hold and really catch fire somewhat in the U.S. of A.
As the Americans are becoming more adept at international rules and are becoming more of a force in the sport, naturally the popularity is going to grow here in the States. When all the champions were from Japan, Americans didn't care a whole lot about the sport. But now that the Americans are learning how to deal with the Japanese and the Europeans, it's becoming of more interest because it is an exciting sport.
1 minute remaining in the third round. This is for the World Welterweight Championship. Ooh, a good right that time, but Nagae snuck one in.
Nagae fighting off the ropes. Much better this round. He landed a good uppercut. Benny's really putting the pressure on him now. He's starting to really load up and throw hard punches for the first time in the fight.
And that's the first glimpse we've had of his quickness and speed and his ability to put combinations together, Dale.
I think Benny's really warming up and getting into the fight now. He's having fun out there. There's nobody that loves to fight more than Benny the Jet Urquidez.
And it looks as though Nagae has dropped his guard a little bit. His hands have lowered somewhat, and when he got close to Urquidez, the hands dropped, and that provided a pretty good target.
There's Benny putting the combinations together. No, there wasn't a lot of kicking in that round. Nagae still has yet to concentrate on his trademark, which is the low kicks. I think Benny's defense, and he's blocked a few of those kicks. When you block the low kick, it hurts the kicker and not the kickee.
Now, why is that? Do you mean just from a plain old pain standpoint?
That's right. You're talking about shin-to-shin contact, and the guy delivering the kick, when the other man blocks it with the shin, the guy that kicked gets the bigger bump on his shin.
And there's something to be said, too, from the mental side of that. When you think you're taking what should be your advantage to your opponent, and he turns it back so easily, you have to wonder, I think, what is going to happen to me now?
That's right. That has kind of reduced Nagae, at least in that last round, to only using his hand skills predominantly. And he landed a few punches, but I think Benny definitely outscored him about 3 punches to 1 in that round. And Benny did deliver a couple of strong body kicks, so I got Urquidez ahead 2 rounds to 1.
You saw that flurry on the instant replay between rounds, and if Urquidez can put together some combinations like that, Nagae, goes down for the first time of the fight. It is ruled a knockdown. He'll get the standing 8 count here, and boy, it didn't take long. About 10 seconds into the 4th round, and Nagae took a seat.
The short left hand. Oh, another one.
Nagae walked right into a left arm. Benny the Jet Urquidez out of his arsenal of attack, and he says, that's it, clear out the cobwebs, folks, this fight's over. Benny the Jet Urquidez retains his World Welterweight Championship, and the guy is still down. He didn't want to sit down between rounds. Now he gets a chance to take a break in between fights, Dale.
Well, Benny the Jet Urquidez is concerned over his opponent. We didn't get to talk a lot about him. It only went 4 rounds, but he is a Christian, and I salute him for that. And the guy, a little disappointed because of the loss in front of the hometown crowd. Here's Benny. Once again, the World Welterweight Champion.
So the Jet soars with a 4th round knockout of Kunimasa Nagae. Dale Cook, and I'll be back with more World Championship Kickboxing right after this.